Let me affectionately and also enthusiastically welcome you all for this first installment and session of our Bhakti Essential course. This is something which really excites me because during these 8 weeks which we will have together, we will see how to spark and empower our spiritual journey in Bhakti. There will be essential understandings discussed, and then there will be a lot of practice. And believe it or not, there will also be recommendations how to apply what we have heard and learned during the week. So we will really deepen our understanding of it. If we just hear theory, we will not get an understanding what Bhakti is. But if we practice, a new world will open for us. What is important for me to say is that these presentations are building on each other. It's, in other words, a systematic presentation. See, sometimes when we approach our spiritual life, we might have something like a linear concept. I start here, and then I will advance and go upward, move forward, and then reach a certain goal. However, spiritual life cannot really be captured by this model. A much better model would be, let me see, the spiral model. I start here, and as I move up, my perspective increases. I will meet one point here, and the same point, when I'm a little bit more advanced, will come up here. Only I will have a deeper perspective, and finally here, and so on. Let me be very concrete. In the beginning, I might have an inkling where I understand, well, my identity, which is the subject matter of this first course, must be something more than just the physical body, whom I dress, and whom I present in the world of appearances. I must be someone else than just the person I see in the mirror, the body. I must be inside. Then we come to a higher level. I may be identical with my thoughts, my aspirations, my feelings, my emotions. But as we grow in Bhakti, in our spiritual journey, we might again confront the subject of identity on a higher level with a lot of more perspective. I will begin to think of myself as a very distinct spiritual identity. So it starts in a general way, where I think I can't be just the body. And yes, I'm also not identical with my changing thoughts and emotions. Here today, tomorrow, it's a different picture. We come to identity on a higher level with a vaster perspective. That is, we understand a distinct spiritual being with qualities like eternity, inner knowing, and unlimited joy. So as we do this Bhakti journey, this is my point here. Be prepared for a wonderful ride on the spiral of Bhakti, where your perspectives, your insights, your realizations on certain topics, important topics, are constantly expanding. Today is identity. And I think you will agree with me that every one of us must start from here. The question, who am I in my essence? Some time ago, I received a letter from one student who expressed it so nicely, and I want to read her search for her identity, because I think a lot of us can identify with it. She writes, "Today I woke up with an interesting thought. What if I'm living a life that has nothing to do with who I am? Let me today find out who I am." Very good resolve. Am I Andrea Schäfer? No, she said, not really. That's just a name in my passport. Well, when I'm a student born in 98, studying at the moment medicine, am I that? She says, I don't think so. That's only what I do. At the moment, I like to play piano, go out with my friends, party, and look at movies. Is that who I am? No, she said, these are only experiences which I have. But who makes these experiences? Who hears through the ears? Who sees through the eyes? She's an intelligent German lady. She says, okay, maybe I'm my thoughts inside, my feelings and emotions. But then she says, these are also only experiences which I make. So I'm not my adventures. I'm not my memories, my likes and dislikes, my feelings of loneliness and satisfaction. I'm not these passing things. So let them not define me. Let's take a moment and reflect on what we just heard. Some of you might like to close the eyes. Once more, let us go over what Andrea describes, and that is what is so close to us. Is she her name? Are you your name? Is she her skills, the things she likes to do, playing piano, going to the movies? Are you your skills or the things you like to do? Or is she the many experiences where she sees friends, hears discussions? Are you your experiences? Is she her thoughts or emotions? Are you your changing thoughts and emotions? Then, who is she? Who are you? I remember I have a professor, he's quite old, and in the University of Frankfurt, a big celebration was made because he really discovered very important things. And his professor friends spoke, the dean spoke, and I also was invited to say something about my friends. And then I said to him, why don't you also go up and say something intelligent to all of us? So he went up to the stage and he said, Sacinandana Swami said I should say something intelligent. I really have only one thing to say. You have all praised achievements, but I am not my achievements. I'm inside. Maybe you cannot see who I am, but I'm giving life to everything that you see and hear from me. Powerful statement. We were all moved when we heard this. If we look at Andreas' letter with the eye of Vedic philosophy, and this is the foundation of the Bhakti movement, we will find out that she really describes three aspects. First, she describes the body. In Sanskrit, you call it the Stula Sharira, who's now a young woman attending the university and in her free time uses her skills like playing piano and what have you. Then there is a second body, which is called the subtle body or Linga Sharira, who experiences the feelings of loneliness, of satisfaction, has some character traits, etc. And finally, and that's the most important thing when we discover or think of our identity, there is the observer, the person inside all of this. Who is that person inside? From the Bhakti perspective, that person within is our true self. It is who we are in essence, full of inner knowing, eternal, and full of inherent bliss that is not created by having things or being recognized in the outside world. Now I want to ask you a question. Why is it that most of us have so little access to this person inside who is full of bliss, who's full of inner knowing? Why do we always think we have to become something instead of just being who we are? Why is our experience not matching up with this philosophy, which I think many can easily follow? The answer is because of 5 factors which surround us. First is, in Sanskrit, avidya. It's something like a forgetfulness who we are. It happens when we go to bed and we dream of being Napoleon or being chased by our angry friends or whatever. Then the second is, from this forgetting or this ignorance, we develop a story around I and mine. You call this in Sanskrit asmita, the ego. And in this huge story, the story of our life, based on this wrong assumption of who we are, we develop great attachments where we think we must have this so that our well-being is intact. And we develop also how do you say this? Aversions. We are battered between attachments and aversions. Sometimes it can happen with the same person. We like him and we hate him. Or her. And finally, all this together, this false narrative based on forgetfulness of who we are, and also the the ego which comes with this binds us like a knot in the heart, a firm knot of our material existence, which just ties us strongly to an illusion, and makes us what is called in Sanskrit abhinivesh, absorbed in the wrong kind of story. Just like people from in a dream can wake up and discover immediately who they are, and all the nightmares or all the happy illusions of being a king go, one can wake up, and that's the first step in spiritual life. To really understand, not theoretically, but practically, I'm not the body. I'm not the passing thoughts. I'm not this false story. The moment you wake up from this, you are very relieved, because you have become who you are, or better, you have arrived at where you are. Personality full of inner knowing and unlimited joy. I would like to not talk theoretically to you today. And tomorrow, or in our next session, I wanted to say, it comes in 1 week. There will not so much, we will need to make a practical experience. I wish that all of you take part, including the people who are in this room, who are still multitasking. You please now put everything aside, what you are doing, and enter a practical meditational experience. Are you ready? I assume that you are ready. Sit erect, but comfortable. Open your chest by just pulling your shoulders up and then rolling them back like this. Now it will be easier to enter into a relaxed mode through breathing. And now, when you are ready, close your eyes. Take a few deep and relaxing breaths. Deep breathing in and out. Arrive in the present moment. Now your life is simple. It's just you and your breath. Feel for a moment the sensations that there in your body, maybe in the shoulders, and relax. Whenever you breathe out, relax a little more. Give yourself a little calm time, a chance to repose. Relaxing is something like hanging your shirt on a hanger and letting it gently fall, so to say, and even out. Relax. Now we will go deeper. Let everything in your life that is going on gently disappear. Your job, gone. Your plans, gone. Your various relationships, gone. Your name and achievements, gone. Your possessions, gone. Let whatever images or thoughts or feelings arise, and then gently let them go. Don't dwell on them. It's just you and your breath. Simply observe your breath as it flows in and out. You're completely by yourself and with yourself. Absolutely safe and free from the layers that cover you. Ask yourself a question. Who am I when everything that is not me is removed? Who am I in my essence? Stay in this space and gently try to become aware of your natural self. That self has always been here. It will always be here. It is always here, just waiting to be uncovered. The Gita says The self is without beginning or end, and it does not die when the body dies. It is eternal, full of inner knowing and full of bliss. Remain for a while in the here and now with your true self. Then, when you are ready, gently end your meditation by stretching a little bit your body, moving maybe your shoulders and opening your eyes. When I met my spiritual master for the last time, he was very emaciated. I think for a month or so he had not taken any food. But despite his condition, he had come one last time to Europe. When me and a few friends entered the room, we were shocked by his outer appearance. His body looked so thin. And he looked at us and he asked, "Have you understood the philosophy?" For him, philosophy was something that helped us to see. He wanted to hear from us, so each one tried. But then, when no one was hitting the right answer, he said, "First of all, you have to understand that life is eternal. The self is eternal. It doesn't undergo changes like the body who goes from childhood to old age through a lot of transformations or transmutations." My dear listeners, I have not forgotten it. And today, this understanding saved my day or my life. Only 2 or 3 days ago, 3 days, one of my best friends left the body. It went very fast. And the shock of not being able to speak with him, to hug him, to eat his amazing cooking. He liked to cook. The shock wave hit me and I was overwhelmed with grieving. At that time, I remembered my last meeting with my spiritual teacher. First of all, you have to understand that life is eternal. It's only out of ignorance where we identify the self which is joyful, pure, and eternal to be the non-self, the body, which is painful, it is changing, and it is temporary. The moment you wake up to who you are, the moment you arrive there, you become really very blissful without having to do something. Very joyful. In the Bhagavad-gita, which is the essential scripture for the Bhakti path, the symptoms of a self-actualized or realized persons are described. I think when you listen to it, you will think, yeah, I want to arrive there. So the first thing is, such a person finds satisfaction in the self alone. He or she is not dependent on outer things. Further, one who abides in the self is described as not being disturbed in mind, even in the midst of the greatest sufferings. It's described that he moves even at the time of death, which is really a situation which most people fear the most. It's said that death is the origin of all the small fears, this one big fear, to lose everything. Even at the moment of death, a self-realized person is not disturbed. One who is realized the self is free from fear and anger and always balanced. If he is praised or if he is despised, he remains balanced. He is like a flame of a candle which is in a wind-still place. It's not affected by what is going on outside in the mind or in the body or in the extended outside, the outer environment. So this is something so much nice. I appreciated Nelson Mandela very much. I have never met him myself, but another of my friends has been with him. And he has said that he had learned, Nelson Mandela, one thing from the Bhagavad-gita, that is to be situated in the self, not be affected, and therefore be able to forgive the violence and the injustice that was done from him to him. Once described that to a journalist who had asked him, what was the Nelson Mandela like who went into the prison for 20 long years, Rhode Island, high security prison? What's the difference between that Nelson Mandela and the Nelson Mandela who came out? Nelson Mandela answered, you know what he had learned from the Gita? The Mandela who went in the prison was angry. And the Nelson Mandela who walked out of the prison was forgiving. He said, I understood at that time, if I keep my anger, my resentfulness with me after I have left the prison, then I carry the prison right with me. Self-realization, very important. Another person I remember just now is Socrates. When he was just hours before his death, his students asked him, what should we do with you when you are dead? And he smiled and said, first catch me, then speak of burying or burning me. You know, this is the first step in spiritual life, to at least theoretically understand that I'm spiritual. I'm not affected by all this story which I have made myself. This is a freedom, my dear people, and a great treasure, a great source of never-ending joyfulness. The Bhagavad-gita concludes, this is the way of spiritual life, after which a person is no longer bewildered. If one is situated even at the hour of death in this consciousness, one can enter the eternal kingdom of God. Yes, one can go to the spiritual dimension entirely. So, let me summarize. To change from being forgetful, from being disturbed at times, it is a matter of growing into your true self. Something like a caterpillar who grows into a butterfly, something that is already there. Or growing to the self-realization could be described as a seed who simply grows into a plant. In a sense, we are already what we will become later. Yet in another sense, we are not yet that thing. But by the right processes and actions, one can develop into that thing. And that I have seen, I have felt, and I have seen it happening with many, many, many people whom I knew from the beginning, almost the beginning, but whom I met when they were on their journey and when they arrived. Wow, it is good. I've seen it in my own case. In various situations where one just pierces and comes through the forgetfulness. And that is happening by the right processes, right actions. I will leave you for today with something you could practically do to become conscious of the self. And I want to inspire you to do these things. We will put it on the Instagram and Facebook pages so that you can see it. I urge you to practice this. Maybe when we meet next Tuesday, some of you are already self-realized. It can go very fast because you don't have to become anything that you are not. You just have to arrive at who you truly are. So the first is, I would request you to find some quiet time. It can be a minute or two where you sit down, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and just exit the false narrative of the I and mine illusions. And just let arise what comes. Second, it does help tremendously if you do this meditation. We will put the Become Who You Are meditation. We will put a link on these social medias so that you can access it from the SoundCloud. And in this way, meditate with us and many, many other people. Then once you have the nick of it, the idea of it, You can do it without hearing the voice guiding you. You can just sit down anywhere, even in your office, tell your people, I'm meditating now, please don't disturb. And you have your 3 minutes, 4 minutes meditation, and so on. And the next thing I would like to say, in your week, try to observe things from the position of the soul. Understand everyone around you is related to you. They are all an eternal self. And be therefore tolerant and forgiving about the minor differences which you have. Um, then you might like to read the wisdom texts. I highly recommend the Bhagavad-gita. Here I have one version. Talks between the self and God. Really powerful work. You might chant mantras and contemplate questions like, who are you when everything that is not you is taken away? Let us end the session. Sit down, erect, yet very relaxed. We will take a deep breath inside and then chant the sacred syllable Om. At the end, I will say Tat Sat. I will do it one time alone. Deep inhale. Tat Sat. What have we learned? What was this all about? All of you who wish to spark and empower your spiritual journey, the first step, the starting point, the step outside the door of your house is the answer to the question, who am I? Identity. The next steps follow this one. I request you to try to apply and contemplate what you have heard. Even if some of you were familiar with some of the topics, remember, spiritual journey is a spiral. You can go higher and higher and touch the same points with a much larger perspectives again and again. Tomorrow, few announcements now. Tomorrow morning we will post on the Facebook the meditation we did today. Try to practice it. It's only 6.5 minutes long. We timed it. It will help you, and then you can, when you have done it a few times, you can do it on your own, because the elements are quite simple to pick up. We will also post some other tips, because, see, with this Bhakti Essential course, we really want to go on a journey. We really want to discover something that is enlivening, that is sparking you, and so on. So see you next Tuesday, July 14th, for Bhakti Essential Part 2. The topic will be divinity. What is our relationship to this divine presence, and how can we live in that relationship? Very practical. Yes, it was a genuine pleasure to be with all of you. I assume that you are there, and I wish you a wonderful week with deep insights that spill over into your life, and see you on next Tuesday.